The crystal towers of the assembly station stretched into the darkness of space like frozen lightning. Tae Kim pressed his hand against the viewing window of the transport shuttle and watched them grow larger. He had studied pictures of this place for months, but seeing it with his own eyes made his chest feel tight. First time seeing it? Hannah Park asked from the seat beside him. She was the leader of their group, the ambassador who would speak for all of Earth. Her voice was calm, but Tae noticed how her fingers tapped against her knee. Yes, Tae said. It's beautiful. It's a cage made of pretty lights, Cho muttered from across the aisle. The military man had not wanted to come. He thought this whole mission was a waste of time. They'll smile and nod and send us home with nothing. Yuna Lee, sitting in the back with her data tablet, spoke quietly. Every cage has a door. We just need to find it. The shuttle docked with a soft thump. Tae gathered his papers and files. He was a linguistics expert, someone who studied how different beings talked and wrote. The council spoke over 300 languages, and he had learned enough of each to get by. But he wondered if words would be enough today. The doors opened. Cold air rushed in, carrying strange smells. Flowers that didn't grow on Earth. Chemicals his nose couldn't name. The smell of 1,000 worlds mixed together. A guide waited for them. It was tall and thin, with blue skin that seemed to glow from within. Its eyes were black and large. Humans, it said in Universal Standard, the common language everyone used. Follow. They walked through corridors made of material that looked like glass but felt warm to the touch. Other aliens passed them. Some looked curious, most looked bored. A few laughed. Look at them. One creature whispered to another. It had 4 arms and a head covered in scales. Walking on 2 legs like children, how do they not fall over? I heard they still eat dead things, the other replied. No photosynthesis, no energy absorption. Just eating corpses. Hannah kept walking, her back straight, but Tae saw the muscle jump in her jaw. The council chamber was enormous. The ceiling curved up and up until it disappeared into shadows. Seats lined the walls in circles, going up higher than Tae could count. Thousands of aliens sat there, representing their worlds and empires. At the bottom, in the center, was a small platform. That was where the humans would stand. Observers sit there, the guide said, pointing to a corner near the floor. The seats were small and pushed against the wall. You may watch. You may not speak unless given permission. But we requested to address the council, Hannah said. Request noted. Request denied. You are observers only. The guide's voice had no emotion in it. If you do not like this, you may leave. They sat. The seats were too small for human bodies. Tae felt his knees press against the seat in front of him. Beside him, Yuna pulled out her tablet and started taking notes. The session began. A massive creature that looked like a floating brain spoke first. Its voice came from speakers built into the walls. We gathered to discuss trade routes in Sector 7. The Vareth Empire has submitted a proposal. Another alien stood. This one looked almost like an insect with a hard shell and multiple eyes. The Vareth take too much, it said. They want control of the routes but offer nothing in return. From a high seat, one of the Vareth representatives rose. High Chancellor Vexmal was famous across the galaxy. His species had conquered 50 worlds and ruled a quarter of known space. He had red skin marked with black patterns and horns that curved backward from his head. We offer protection, Vexmal said. His voice was deep and made the floor vibrate. Without us, pirates would own those routes. Small species like yours would lose everything. You mean small species like the humans? Another voice called out. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Vexmal looked down at the corner where the humans sat. Ah, yes, the humans, the newest children to stumble into our galaxy. Tell me, humans, how many worlds do you control? Hannah stood slowly. We have one world, Earth. One world. More laughter. And you come here asking for trade rights? For technology? What do you offer in return? Your primitive computing? Your slow ships? We offer partnership, Hannah said. We have much to learn, yes. But we also have much to give. You have nothing we need, Vexmul said. "You are babies playing with toys you found in the dark. You do not belong here." Tay felt anger burn in his chest. He started to stand, but Yuna's hand grabbed his arm. She shook her head slightly. Her eyes were fixed on the walls of the chamber. The debate continued. The humans were forgotten. They sat in their small seats and watched as empires argued over territory and resources. Hours passed. Tay's legs went numb. But he watched, and he noticed things. The chamber walls were not smooth. Patterns covered them, symbols carved into the crystal. He had thought they were just decoration, but the more he looked, the more they seemed like something else. Something organized. Yuna was scanning them with her tablet. The device mapped the symbols and tried to find patterns. Tay leaned over to look at her screen. She had found something. The symbols repeated in specific ways. They followed mathematical rules. "This is writing," Yuna whispered. "Old writing, very old. Can you read it?" Tay asked. "No, but I've seen something like it before. In the archives back on Earth, ancient texts we found on Mars, dead languages from civilizations that existed before humans." Before Tay could ask more, the session ended. The council dismissed all observers. As the humans stood to leave, Tay looked back at the walls. The symbols seemed to glow in the dim light. An old alien was watching them. It sat alone in a high seat, wrapped in dark robes. Its face was hidden, but Tay felt its eyes on them. On Yuna's tablet, on the symbols she had been scanning. "Come," Hana said. "We're done here." They walked back through the corridors. Nobody spoke to them. The guide led them to their shuttle without a word. Inside the shuttle, Day finally spoke. "That was worse than I thought. They didn't just reject us, they humiliated us." "Yes," Hana said quietly. "They did." "So what do we do now?" Day asked. "Go home and give up?" "No." Yuna looked up from her tablet. Her eyes were bright with something Ty couldn't name. Excitement, maybe. Or fear. "Now we find out what those symbols mean. Because I don't think the aliens know. And I think that's important." Tay looked at the data on her screen. The symbols formed patterns that reminded him of music, of mathematics, of poetry. They were beautiful and complex and completely unknown. "What makes you think they don't know what their own writing means?" he asked. Yuna smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Because when I scanned them, the system didn't recognize the language, not even in the database of 3 million known languages. This writing is older than the council itself, maybe older than any of them remember." The shuttle pulled away from the station. Through the window, Tay watched the crystal towers shrink. Somewhere in there, carved into walls that everyone saw but nobody read, was a message from the past. And somehow, he knew finding that message would change everything. 3 months had passed since the council rejected humanity's request. Back on Earth, politicians argued about what to do next. Some wanted to try again. Others wanted to forget the whole thing and focus on building up Earth's defenses. But Tay and Yuna had other ideas. The research vessel Persistence moved through deep space like a silver needle threading through black cloth. Captain Sung Kwan sat in the command chair, watching the stars slip past. He was a practical man who had spent 20 years in space. He had seen strange things, but this mission felt different. "Are we really doing this?" he asked Tay, who stood beside him studying a star map. "Flying to dead worlds that the council says are worthless?" "They say they're worthless because they've already taken everything valuable," Tay said. "But maybe they missed something. Or maybe there's nothing there and we're wasting fuel." Tay smiled. "Maybe. But Yuna found something in the old records. The council has a list of forbidden worlds, places they say are too dangerous or too sacred to visit. But those worlds all have something in common. What's that? They all have those same symbols. The ones from the council chamber." Sung considered this. "So we're going to a forbidden world. If the council finds out, they'll be angry." "Let them be angry," Mina Bay said from her station. She was the ship's archaeologist, young and eager to prove herself. "We're not part of their club anyway. What can they do? Reject us again?" The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a planet the charts called Corvin 7. It was gray and dead, with no atmosphere and no life. Ancient impact craters covered its surface like old wounds. Scanning now, Horu said. He was the ship's AI specialist, and his computers were already analyzing the planet. I'm picking up structures below the surface, deep down, made of crystal or something similar. How deep? Sung asked. 2 kilometers. But there's a cave system. We can get down there if we're careful. They landed near a crater that had split open the ground like a cracked egg. The cave entrance was there, dark and waiting. Tay suited up with the others. His helmet display showed the outside temperature, cold enough to freeze nitrogen. Stay together, Sung ordered. If something happens, we get back to the ship. No heroics. The cave walls were smooth and reflected their lights back at them in strange patterns. Yuna kept scanning everything, her equipment beeping softly in the silence. Deeper they went, following passages that seemed to spiral downward. This wasn't natural, Mina said. She ran her gloved hand along the wall. Someone carved this or grew it, or made it somehow. How old? Tay asked. The rock around it is old. Billions of years. But these structures? She checked her scanner. At least 50,000 years. Maybe more. They walked for an hour. The passage opened into a massive cavern. Tay stopped and stared. His breath caught in his throat. The cavern was full of crystals. But these crystals had been shaped and carved. They rose from the floor like towers, like trees, like frozen waterfalls, and every surface was covered in symbols. The same symbols from the council chamber, but thousands of them. Millions of them. They glowed faintly with their own light, filling the cavern with a soft blue glow. By all the stars, Sung whispered. What is this place? A library, Yuna said. She was already scanning, her equipment working frantically. It's a library. These aren't just symbols. They're books, records. Each crystal is like a data storage device, but made from something organic, something that lasts forever. Tay moved closer to one of the crystals. The symbols seemed to shift and change as he looked at them. Not randomly, but with purpose, like they were responding to his presence. He reached out carefully and touched the surface. Images flooded his mind. Not words, but feelings and concepts. A civilization that had spread across the stars. Beings that had thought and dreamed and built wonders. And then nothing. An ending, but not death. Something else. A choice to leave. He pulled his hand back, gasping. They left. The ones who made this. They didn't die. They chose to go somewhere else. Who? Mina asked. Who left? The first speakers, Yuna said, reading from her scanner. That's what the earliest symbols call them. The ones who came before. Before the council. Before the Varath. Before any of the species we know. They were here first, and they wrote all of this. Sung looked around at the endless crystals. It would take lifetimes to read it all. That's the problem, Tay said. The modern aliens can't read it. Their brains have changed, evolved, or been changed deliberately. They've lost the ability to understand complexity like this. It's too much for them. Ho was working with his portable AI, trying to decode some of the symbols. The patterns are incredible. Each symbol contains multiple layers of meaning. Visual, mathematical, emotional. You need to process all of it at once to understand. But human brains can do that. Yuna said quietly. We're not optimized like them. Our brains are messy. We think in weird ways. We make connections that don't make logical sense. And maybe that's exactly what we need. They spent hours in the cavern, scanning and recording everything they could. Tay found a section that seemed simpler than the rest. Basic symbols that repeated. Like a teaching tool. Like someone had left instructions for how to read the rest. This is a key, he said. A way to translate the harder parts. If we can decode this section, we can understand more. Mina had moved to another area. Over here. I found something else. It looks like a map. The crystal she stood beside showed the galaxy. Stars marked with different symbols. Some were bright, others were dark. And Earth's location had a symbol Tay didn't recognize. Something that looked like a question mark, but more complex. What does that mean? Sung asked. I don't know, Yuna said. But 13 other worlds have the same symbol. All of them are on the edge of known space. All of them are places where newer species live. The Council doesn't control those worlds, Ho said. They're independent. Like Earth. Before they could discuss it further, Ho's equipment beeped urgently. We have a ship approaching fast. It's broadcasting Varath military codes. How did they find us? Mina asked. They must monitor these worlds, Sung said. Come on. We need to leave. Now. They ran back through the passages, their lights bouncing off the walls. Behind them, Tay could still see the glow of the crystals growing fainter. They had found something incredible, but they had barely scratched the surface. The Persistence launched just as the Vareth ship arrived. It was massive, dark, and covered in weapons. A voice came through the communication system. "Human vessel, you are trespassing on sacred ground. Explain yourselves." Sung looked at Tay, who nodded. Sung opened the channel. "We're explorers. We found ruins. We meant no disrespect." "Ruins?" The Vareth voice sounded angry. "There are no ruins on Corvin 7, only wasteland." "You saw nothing." "We saw a lot, actually," Mina said before Sung could stop her. "An entire library, written in a language you don't understand." Silence. Then the Vareth ship moved closer. Its weapons powered up. "You will delete all data collected. You will forget this place, or you will not leave the system." "We're leaving," Sung said quickly. "Right now." He pushed the ship to maximum speed. The jump to faster-than-light space took 30 seconds to charge. The Vareth ship followed, getting closer. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. They're locking weapons, Ho said. 5 seconds. The Vareth ship fired. The blast hit the Persistence's shields, making the whole ship shake. But the jump activated. Space twisted, and suddenly they were away, racing through faster than light toward Earth. "Did they really think we'd delete the data?" Mina asked, checking to make sure all the recordings were safe. "They knew we wouldn't," Yuna said. "They just wanted to scare us, to make us think twice about going back." "It worked," Sung said. "I'm scared. But I'm also curious. If the Vareth want to keep this secret so badly, then what we found must be important." Tay looked at the data on his tablet. Thousands of images, millions of symbols. It would take years to translate it all. But he could already see patterns, mathematical relationships, musical structures. It was like the universe itself had been turned into poetry. "When we get back," he said, "we're going to need help. Lots of it, every smart person Earth has. Because what we found down there isn't just old writing. It's a message, and I think it's meant for us." The Geneva Institute looked like any other building from the outside. Gray walls, small windows, security gates. But inside, in the basement levels that stretched 5 floors underground, the brightest minds on Earth worked on the biggest puzzle humanity had ever faced. Jin Park stood in front of a wall covered in projected symbols. The ancient writing from Corvin 7 glowed in the dim room. He had been staring at these patterns for 6 months, and every day he found something new. Something that changed everything he thought he understood. "Look at this section," he said to his team. "This symbol appears 300 times in the texts, but it means something different each time depending on what's around it." "Like Chinese characters," one researcher suggested. "No, more complex. Each symbol has a base meaning, but also layers. Mathematical, emotional, musical. You have to understand all the layers at once." Solhan, the neuroscientist, adjusted the scan of her own brain on the monitor. "Human brains process this differently than we process normal language. When we look at these symbols, multiple parts of our brain light up. Visual cortex, mathematical processing, emotional centers, and language areas, all at once. The modern aliens can't do that," Jin said. "Their brains have been optimized over thousands of years. Genetic engineering, evolution, cybernetic enhancement. They're efficient, but efficiency isn't always better." In another room, Jae-won played his violin. He wasn't just playing music. He was playing the symbols. Each pattern of writing could be translated into sound, into rhythm. The ancient text was music, and music was text. They were the same thing. "Listen to this phrase," he said to Rin Seo, the historian who sat with old books spread around her. He played a series of notes that rose and fell like waves. "That's the symbol for understanding. Now listen to this." He played a different melody that somehow contained the first one but expanded it, made it larger. "That's the symbol for wisdom. They're related. You can hear the relationship." Rin wrote notes frantically. Earth had similar concepts. Ancient cultures that saw connections between music and mathematics and language. The Greeks, the Indians, the Chinese. They all knew that these things were linked. But we forgot. We separated them into different subjects, different ways of thinking. "The first speakers never separated them," Jay said. "For them, everything was connected. And their language reflects that. You can't translate it word by word. You have to translate the whole thing at once. The entire meaning." Tay visited the facility every day. He coordinated between the different teams, helping them share information. Each group found pieces of the puzzle, Together, those pieces started to form a picture. "We've got something," Una called out one evening. She had been working on the simple symbols, the teaching section they found first. "I think I've decoded the introduction, the part that explains what this library is." Everyone gathered around her terminal. The symbols scrolled past, and below them, her translation appeared in English. "We were the first," the text read. "We spread among the stars when the galaxy was young. We built and learned and grew. We created children from the basic elements of life, seeded them on 1,000 worlds and watched them evolve. We did not force them. We did not control them. We only gave them the chance to exist. They created the modern aliens," Sol said quietly. "The Vareth, the others, all of them started because the first speakers wanted children." The translation continued. "But we saw a danger. As our children grew, they became efficient, strong. They optimized themselves for survival and dominance. In doing so, they lost something. They lost the ability to see connections, to think in webs instead of lines. They became powerful but limited." Jin read ahead, his eyes moving fast. "Here, this is important. We do not judge them for this. It is natural. But we hoped one day a species would emerge that kept the old ways, that thought in chaos and patterns and emotion. To them, we leave our knowledge. To them, we give the key." "They knew," Rin whispered. 50,000 years ago, they knew that someday someone would need this. Someone who thought differently. "And they left it for us," Una said. "For humans. Or anyone like us." Over the next months, the work accelerated. They found mathematical formulas that made quantum physics look simple. They found philosophies that solved problems humanity had argued about for centuries. They found scientific discoveries that could change everything. But they also found a warning. "The sealed archive," Tay read from a section deep in the texts. The first speakers mention it over and over. A place where they kept their greatest knowledge. Their final teachings. "But it's locked, protected. Protected how?" Jin asked. "By language itself. The lock is a test. Only those who can truly speak the ancient tongue can open it." "And the location?" Tay zoomed in on another symbol. "It's under the council chamber." "It's been there the whole time." The room went silent. Everyone understood what this meant. To access the sealed archive, they would need to go back to the assembly station. Back to where they had been humiliated and rejected. Back to face the aliens who mocked them. "They'll never let us try," Sol said. "The Varath control the council. If they find out we can read the ancient texts, they'll stop us, maybe violently. We need to prove it first," Una said. "We need to show we can actually do this. Then they can't deny us." Tay looked at the translation they had completed. Months of work, thousands of hours, and they had barely translated 1% of the library. But it was enough. It was proof. "I need to contact Hana," he said. "We're going back to the council. But this time, we're not asking for permission." In orbit above Earth, spy satellites from various alien empires watched the planet. They had been there for months, ever since the Persistence returned from Corvin 7. The Vareth wanted to know what the humans were doing. What they had learned, but the satellites couldn't see underground. They couldn't see the work happening in Geneva. And they didn't know that humanity was preparing something that would shake the galaxy. One night, an old alien ship entered Earth's orbit. It moved slowly, broadcasting peaceful intentions. The defense grid let it pass. The ship requested permission to land, and after some debate, Earth granted it. An alien emerged from the ship. It was old, wrapped in dark robes, its face hidden. But Tay recognized it. The alien from the council chamber. The one who had watched them studying the symbols. The alien's name was Kroven. He was a keeper, one of the few remaining members of a group that had tried to preserve old knowledge. He had been watching humanity for months, through reports and spies, and he had come with a warning. "The Vareth know," Kroven said in the meeting room. His voice was old and dry, like wind through desert rocks. "They know you found the library. They know you can read it. And they are afraid." "Afraid?" Hana asked. "Why would they fear us?" "Because you threaten their power. The Vareth rule through strength and control, but you humans have found something they cannot control. Knowledge from the first speakers. If you truly can read the ancient texts, if you can open the sealed archive, then everything changes." "What's in the archive?" Tay asked. Kroven shook his head slowly. "I do not know. None of us do. The keepers have tried for 10,000 years to open it. We failed. We lost the ability our ancestors had. But you He looked at Tay with eyes that held sadness and hope. You might succeed where we failed. The Varath will try to stop us, Yuna said. Yes, they will declare it heresy. They will say the ancient sites are sacred and humans defile them. They will turn the council against you. So what do we do? Jin asked. Krovan pulled back his hood. His face was wrinkled and marked with old scars. You do what the first speakers hoped you would do. You speak. You speak their language in front of the council. You prove you are worthy. And you do it before the Varath can stop you. Hana stood and walked to the window. She could see the lights of Geneva spreading below. A human city on a human world. So small compared to the empires and the stars. But maybe, she thought, maybe small was not the same as weak. Contact the council, she said. Tell them we request an emergency session. Tell them we have urgent information about the ancient sites. They'll deny the request, Day said. Then we'll go anyway. We'll force our way into the chamber if we have to. Because Krovan is right. This is our chance. Our only chance. And we're not going to waste it. Tay looked at the translations on his tablet. The beautiful, complex symbols that held the thoughts of beings who had lived and dreamed 50,000 years ago. Soon he would speak those words out loud. In the council chamber. Where everyone could hear. And the galaxy would have to listen. The council chamber was more crowded than Tay had ever seen it. Word had spread that the humans were returning, and every species wanted to witness what would happen. Some came out of curiosity. Others came to watch humanity fail again. The Varath came armed. Hana walked into the chamber with her head high. Behind her came Tay, Yuna, Jin, and Day. They wore simple clothes, carrying nothing but data tablets. No weapons, no tricks, just knowledge. High Chancellor Vexmol stood from his seat. His red skin seemed darker than before, and his horns caught the light like knives. Humans. You were not granted permission to address this council. You will leave immediately. We have something important to share, Hana said. Her voice echoed in the vast space. Information about the ancient sites. About the first speakers. Murmuring spread through the chamber. The name of the first speakers was old, nearly forgotten. Most species knew of them only as myths. Legends from before recorded history. There is nothing to share, Vexmol said. Those sites are sacred, sealed. You have trespassed and stolen data. This is a crime. We took nothing that wasn't meant to be found, Tay said, stepping forward. The first speakers left their library for anyone who could read it. And we can read it. Laughter erupted from the seats. It was the same mocking laughter from before. The same dismissal. These primitive humans claiming to understand what the great civilizations could not. Impossible. Another council member said. It was a floating creature covered in crystalline plates. The ancient script has no translation. It is decorative, artistic, nothing more. It's a language, Yuna said. Complex, beautiful, and complete. It contains knowledge from the first civilization to rule the stars. And you've forgotten how to read it. Enough of this, Vexmol growled. Security, remove these humans. Guards began moving toward the platform. But Hana raised her hand. If we're lying, then prove it. Let me speak one sentence in the ancient tongue. If nothing happens, we'll leave peacefully. But if I'm right, she let the challenge hang in the air. Vexmol hesitated. He could order them removed, but now the entire council was watching. If he silenced the humans without letting them prove their claim, it would look like fear. Like he had something to hide. One sentence, he said. Then you leave. Hana nodded to Tay. This was his moment. He had practiced for months, learning not just the words, but the layers beneath them. The mathematics. The emotion. The music. He opened his mouth and spoke. The sounds that came out were unlike any language spoken in the galaxy for 50,000 years. They were complex, shifting, containing harmonics that human vocal cords could barely produce. But Tay had trained. He had learned to make his voice do things it wasn't designed to do. He spoke of beginnings. Of light spreading through darkness, of children growing and learning and becoming more than their parents dreamed. The chamber's lights flickered. The walls began to glow. The symbols carved into the crystal surfaces lit up one by one, spreading out from where Tay stood. Blue light washed over the chamber, bright enough that some aliens covered their eyes. The air itself seemed to hum with energy. Equipment throughout the station activated. Systems that had been dormant for millennia suddenly woke up. Holographic displays materialized in the air above the council floor, showing images no one had seen before. The first speakers appeared in the holograms. They were tall and graceful, with features that looked like a blend of many species. Not quite like any modern alien, but containing elements of all of them. Their genetic children evolved and changed over time. One of the holograms spoke. Its voice came from everywhere at once, gentle but clear. We greet those who remember, those who can speak the first words. You have done what we hoped. You have kept the old ways alive. The council sat frozen. Even Vexmal was silent, staring at the images of beings his ancestors had called gods. This chamber is a teaching space, the hologram continued. A test. We built it for the species who would come after us. Most would use it only for politics and arguments, never knowing what lay beneath. But those who could speak, who could truly communicate, would unlock its secrets. Tay continued speaking, following the script he had memorized. His words activated more systems. The floor of the chamber split down the center, panels sliding aside to reveal stairs leading down into darkness that glowed with ancient light. The sealed archive, Croven whispered from his seat. The old keeper was crying, tears running down his wrinkled face. After 10,000 years, after all our failures, they did it. This is a trick, Vexmal shouted. He was standing now, his hands clenched into fists. Some human technology. An illusion. No illusion, Jin said. He held up his tablet, which was analyzing the energy readings. This is technology from the first speakers. Nothing modern could do this. Nothing we could fake. Yuna stepped forward and spoke her own phrase in the ancient tongue. The hologram of the first speaker turned to her, as if seeing her for the first time. Yes, it said. You understand. You see the connections. You think in webs, not lines. This is the gift we hope to pass on. The hologram gestured to the open floor, to the stairs leading down. Below lies our final work, the knowledge we saved for the day when someone worthy would find it. Not the strongest species, not the most advanced, but the ones who remembered how to think in the old ways, how to see beauty in chaos, how to find truth in complexity. What's down there? Hana asked. Everything. Scientific theorems that unlock the nature of reality, philosophical frameworks that answer the questions your species have asked since you first looked at the stars, technology that makes your current tools look like children's toys, but most importantly, a path to where? The hologram smiled. It was a sad smile, full of longing. To us, we did not die. We transcended. We left the physical universe behind and moved to something beyond, but we could not take our children with us. They were not ready. So we left markers, tests, ways for you to follow when you had grown enough. This chamber was one test. Reading our language was another. And now, if you choose, you can begin the final journey. The chamber exploded into noise. Every species shouting at once. Some with excitement, some with fear, some with anger. The Vareth delegation was yelling for security, demanding the chamber be sealed. But it was too late. The systems were active. The archive was open, and every camera in the station had recorded what happened. The broadcast had gone out across the galaxy. Billions of beings had just watched humans speak the language of the first speakers. Vexmal pushed through the crowd toward the stairs. This is Vareth territory. Ancient sites fall under our protection. We claim this archive. You can't read it, Tay said simply. You can look at it, but you won't understand what you see. Only we can. Then we'll make you translate it. We'll take your people as guests, permanent guests. Day stepped forward, his military training evident in how he moved. Try it. Earth has allies now. Every young species in the galaxy just saw what happened. You touch us and they'll know you're keeping knowledge from them, keeping them weak so you can stay strong. You're trying to divide the council, Vexmal said. No, Hana replied. You divided it when you locked away the history of everyone here. When you pretended the ancient sites were sacred while you kept them secret. We're just bringing the truth to light. Croven descended from his seat, moving slowly on old legs. Other aliens parted for him, showing respect for the keeper. He reached the human delegation and bowed deeply. On behalf of my order, he said, I thank you. For 10,000 years we tried to preserve what we could of the old knowledge. We failed, but you succeeded. You've given our ancestors a voice again. More aliens began coming forward. Not the major empires, but smaller species. The ones who had been mocked and dismissed just like humanity. They surrounded the humans, forming a protective circle. We want to learn, one said. Teach us the language. Share the knowledge, said another. Don't let the empires lock it away again. Tay looked at Yuna, then at Hana. They hadn't expected this. They thought they'd unlock the archive and maybe gain some respect. But this was bigger. This was a movement. A revolution of knowledge. We'll teach anyone who wants to learn, Tay said loudly so everyone could hear. The first speakers left this for all of us. Not just humans, not just the Varath or any single empire, for anyone willing to do the work to understand. The hologram of the first speaker flickered. Go down, it said. See what we have left for you. And when you are ready, when you have learned all that is here, look to the dark spaces between galaxies. We will be waiting. We have always been waiting. For our children to remember, for our children to come home. The image faded. The lights in the chamber dimmed back to normal. But the stairs remained open. The archive waited below, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. 3 months after the council chamber revelation, the galaxy was a different place. The change didn't happen all at once. It came in waves like ripples spreading across water. The first wave was chaos. The Varath Empire tried to close the archive, sending military ships to blockade the assembly station. But 17 smaller species sent their own ships to break the blockade. For a week the standoff held. Then the Varath withdrew. They couldn't fight 17 species at once, not when public opinion had turned against them. The second wave was hunger. Every species wanted access to the knowledge from the first speakers. Universities and research centers across the galaxy contacted Earth, begging for information. How did humans learn the language? Could others learn it too? What secrets had they found in the archive? Hannah stood on the observation deck of the new facility on Corvin 7 and watched construction crews work. They were building the Academy of First Voices, a school where anyone could come to learn the ancient language. The building rose from the dead planet like a flower growing through concrete. We've received 3,000 applications this week, Nalim said, reading from her tablet. She was Earth's first official representative to the Galactic Council, a position that came with real voting power now. Species from every corner of known space want to send students. Can we handle that many? Hannah asked. Not yet, but we're expanding. Training more teachers, setting up satellite academies on other worlds. Nalim smiled. It's overwhelming, but it's good overwhelming. Down below, the first class was already in session. Tay stood in front of 50 students from 20 different species. Some had faces with eyes, some didn't have faces at all. But they all listened carefully as he explained the basic principles of the ancient tongue. This language doesn't work like modern languages, he said. You can't just memorize words. You need to understand the connections between ideas, between mathematics and music, between emotion and logic. It requires you to think in ways you're not used to. A young Varath in the back raised one of her 4 hands. Her name was Cal, and she was part of a reform movement within her species. The old empire was fracturing as younger Varath learned the truth about their history. Teacher Tay, she said, why could humans learn this when we couldn't? What makes you special? Tay smiled. It was a question he got often. We're not special. We're just different. Your species optimized your brains for efficiency over thousands of years. You removed the random connections, the chaos that made thinking slower, and that worked well for building an empire. But the first speaker's language needs that chaos. It needs brains that can hold contradictions, that can process emotion and logic at the same time without choosing one over the other. So we ruined ourselves? Another student asked. No, you evolved for survival, but evolution isn't finished. You can learn new ways of thinking. It's harder for you than it is for us, but possible. Several of you are already making progress. He was right. Across the classroom, students were working with the basic symbols. Some struggled, but others were beginning to understand. Their brains were adapting, finding old neural pathways that hadn't been used in generations. In the archive beneath the council chamber, Yuna led a team of researchers through crystalline corridors. They had been exploring for months and had barely seen 1% of what was stored there. Every day brought new discoveries. Look at this, Jin said, projecting data into the air. It's a star map. But not just where stars are. It shows which ones have habitable planets, which ones have resources. And look at these markings. He zoomed in on Earth's sun. The symbol there was highlighted, glowing brighter than others. The first speakers marked Earth as important. They visited our planet millions of years ago. They left something there. What did they leave? Yuna asked. I don't know yet, but they marked 12 other planets the same way. All of them are home to younger species. Species that joined the galactic community recently. Species that still have neural diversity. They were planning this, Yuna said quietly. They knew their children would optimize themselves into a corner. So they seeded other worlds with life, watched those species develop naturally, waited for one to become advanced enough to find the clues. And we were the first, Jin said. Or the first to succeed. Maybe others tried and failed. Maybe we just got lucky. Maybe. Jin looked at the endless shelves of crystalline data storage around them. But now we need to share this luck. Make sure everyone has a chance to learn. On Earth, in a small classroom in Seoul, something remarkable was happening. Human children and alien children sat together learning the ancient tongue. A Vareth child named Krev sat next to a human girl named Mina. They were working on a translation problem, their heads bent together over a tablet. I think this symbol means growth, Mina said, but also change and becoming all at once. How can one word mean three things? Krev asked, frustrated. It doesn't mean three things. It means one thing that we need three words to describe. The first speakers thought differently than we do. For them, growth and change and becoming were all the same concept. Krev stared at the symbol. Slowly his eyes widened. I see it. It's like a seed growing into a tree. The seed changes, but it's also still the seed. It becomes the tree, but the tree is what the seed always was going to be. Exactly, Mina grinned. You're getting it. Their teacher, Sol Han, watched from her desk. She had left her neuroscience research to teach children, because she realized this was where the real work happened. Not in labs or universities, but in classrooms where young minds learned to think in new ways. The third wave came from an unexpected direction. The Vareth Empire didn't collapse, but it transformed. Younger Vareth who learned the ancient tongue began questioning everything their elders had told them. They found records of how their ancestors had deliberately removed inefficient thinking from their genetics. How they had been made into warriors and administrators, but had lost their poets and dreamers in the process. A delegation of young Varath arrived at the academy, led by someone Tay recognized. Cal, his student, stood at the front. Behind her were 50 others, all wearing simple robes instead of military uniforms. We want to help, she said. We want to teach our people what we've learned. Show them there's another way. The old council won't like that, Hana said. The old council is dying. Not physically, but politically. Half the Vareth worlds have declared independence. They're forming new governments based on the principles from the first speaker's texts, governments that value wisdom as much as strength. It wasn't just the Varath. Across the galaxy, empires were fracturing and reforming. Some resisted change and became isolated. Others embraced it and flourished. The balance of power shifted away from military might and toward knowledge and cooperation. In a communication center on Earth, Tai received an alert. It came from deep space, from beyond the galactic rim. The automated probes humanity had sent out after discovering the archive had found something. He opened the message and his breath caught. The probes had detected structures in the dark space between galaxies. Massive structures, too regular to be natural, and they were broadcasting something. A signal in the ancient tongue. Come, the message said. You are ready. The first of our children to remember. The first to speak the old words. Come and learn what we became. Come and see what you can become. Tay immediately contacted the others. Within hours, they were gathered in a meeting room. Hana, Yuna, Jin, Nalim, and representatives from a dozen other species who had mastered the language. They're still out there, Yuna said, staring at the data. The first speakers. They didn't die. They're waiting for us. It's a journey of years, Jin said. Maybe decades, even with the fastest ships we have. And we don't know what we'll find. We'll find answers, Tay said, about where we came from, where we're going, why the universe is the way it is. Or we'll find more questions, Hana added. But isn't that what learning is? Each answer opening the door to new questions? They voted. It was unanimous. Humanity would lead the first expedition beyond the galaxy, but they wouldn't go alone. Every species that wanted to join was welcome. Scientists, philosophers, artists, dreamers, anyone who wanted to meet the first speakers face to face. The ship was named Persistence, like the research vessel that had started everything. But this new Persistence was 100 times larger, built with technology from the archive. It could carry 10,000 beings and travel faster than anything ever built before. On the day of departure, Tay stood at the viewing window, watching ships from across the galaxy arrive to see them off. Humans, Vareth, Kroven's people, and hundreds of others, all of them connected now by language and shared purpose. Are you nervous? Yuna asked, standing beside him. Terrified, he admitted, but also excited. We're going to meet beings who saw the universe when it was young, who learned its secrets and transcended physical existence. What will they be like? Maybe they'll be kind. Maybe they'll be distant. Maybe they'll be incomprehensible. Maybe they'll be disappointed in us, Tay said quietly. They're children who forgot them, who nearly lost everything they left behind. But we remembered, Yuna said firmly. That's what matters. We found the language. We spoke the words. We proved we could learn,